Yes, but congratulations on Mr. Harrigan's phone being out. What is that like kind of building up to the release and having it out on a global platform like Netflix?
Kind of surprising because you do these things and then, they go to the back of your mind and then all of a sudden they're, fast forward and that's what's going on. And you go, okay, great. That's what's going on. I guess I'll tap back into that, so that's what's kind of going on. So yeah, I really wasn't, uh, you never know how much attention anything's going to get, when it's released and all that kind of stuff. So I guess I'm a bit on the pleasantly surprised side that this is getting as much attention as it is in advance of its release.
Well, I mean, just from the trailer alone, people can see that this is a collaboration with Ryan Murphy, Stephen King, and Blumhouse, which are all three big names in the horror and kind of thriller industry.
Mhm.
What was that like kind of stepping into that universe and getting to play a role?
Well, I wasn't exactly stepping into it because I'd done a few things out with Blumhouse before. There's one that's released almost simultaneously as another Blumhouse project called The Visitor that I'm in. And I'd worked with Ryan Murphy. He directed me in an episode of American Horror. I really didn't know that, when I looked at the script and all that was who was attached to it either, so
Really?
no, I got sent a script. I'll tell you the embarrassing story first. That's always the human interest part, right? I got the script sent to me by my agents, right? So take a look to see if you're interested. That doesn't happen often, Usually I get sides for, And so I looked at the script. I liked it. I liked the Mr. Harrigan character. I thought it was going to be a small movie. That's why I was being sent this thing. And, his deep skepticism of cell phones and all that sort of thing was appealed to me. It was right. We were on the same wavelength. So I texted back that, I like the script. And a few weeks later, I get an email that says, well, you've been offered the role of Pete. And I'm like, who the hell's Pete? So, because I thought in my vanity, that, it was a small movie. And because when I read it, the only person I saw that was remotely my age was Mr. Harrigan, right? So that's what I thought, Anyway, so I reread it. Oh, there's Pete. Okay. All right. And then I agreed to do it. And then I found out that Donald Sutherland was being cast as Mr. Harrigan. I realized, well, okay, I can see that choice. So that's kind of how that came about, And then it ended up being a very nice shoot. John Lee Hancock, the director, couldn't have been warmer or more gracious. So, it ended up being a fun shoot.
And talking more about you and your character, Pete, what was the inspiration behind him? Because obviously you got to read the script, but what pulled you to want to bring him to life?
Well, I mean, I'm in New Orleans now, but I spent about 25 years in the Northeast, spent a fair amount of time in Maine. And Pete's kind of part of the mise-en-scene, it's part of the ambience of Maine. I'd grown a beard and long hair for a Civil War movie the timing didn't work out. So I had all that going in. And once they agreed to go with that look, he could have easily has been a lobsterman or whatever as the groundskeeper. So you just, that whole Maine kind of, pragmatic, not loquacious persona, as long as you could pull that kind of, the camera comes on him, but I think he had one line,
Yeah.
But the camera, so you're there to be, everything wanted to be a piece with, everything wanted to look like a town in Maine, feel like a town in Maine. So, as long as I could bring that vibe, I think I'm doing my job. And I think, I looked at Peggy Scott played the housekeeper. I played the grounds guy. There was a shot of us together that was taken at the funeral scene. And we were very American Gothic. So I think we pulled it off.
Yeah. And I mean, this is obviously a horror / thriller type movie. I have to ask, are you a fan of that genre?
Not really, but it's a pretty wide genre, but I've done a lot, I've done a lot of it. It's not where I go as a viewer naturally.
Okay.
But, I've found myself as an actor in that world fairly frequently.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously you said you don't watch a lot of horror or thriller, but if you had to have a go-to movie from that genre, what would it be?
Oh, shoot. I don't know. I can't answer that off the top of my head.
That's okay.
I'm back. I'm getting older. I watch movies. I forget their names, and I remember them a month later. So you got to forgive me.
Fair enough. But if you could describe this movie as a whole in 3 words, what would they be?
Stephen King movie. It's small town America. It's the same America that Ray Bradbury, who was a sci-fi writer that was popular when I was a kid, drew from. Even the Hardy Boys, which is even going further back, drew from. So it's a very something awry and a very, at least for a great percentage of the population, very familiar kind of landscape. And from the trailer, I think that's going to be well observed. I like the trailer. I haven't seen the movie at this point. The trailer seemed
All right.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. And my last question for you, obviously this release is huge, but do you have any future projects you can hint at or talk about?
Actually, they're both horror movies. The Visitor, which is going to be out, I think Epic, but it's on demand now. And then there was another horror movie where I played sort of the ghost of the patriarchy. No surprise there. Called History of Evil. That's still in post production. That should be out, I don't know, sometime in the next year, I guess. So beyond that, nothing much to report from this end.
You're keeping busy.
Busy enough.
Yes, well, congratulations on this release and thank you so much for your time.
All right. Take care.